Good afternoon, Mayor Bowser, Chancellor Farabee, and honored guests. My name is Kim Aduchim, and I'm the proud leader of Capitol Hill Montessori at Logan. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you to our ribbon cutting ceremony today. I owe a debt of gratitude to the mayor, our chancellor, the architects, and everyone involved in this grand modernization for giving our students and staff a beautiful learning environment, one that we run to every day and never want to leave to go home at the end of the day. Maria Montessori knew the value of a prepared environment, and I can truly say our students are blessed to enjoy the spacious indoor and outdoor learning spaces. It is said the measure of a society, the goodness of a society, is seen in how it treats its young and its elderly. And Mayor Bowser, you have made it clear that you have a commitment to modernizing the DCPS public schools so that all of our students have a beautiful learning environment and for our children to actually enjoy a beautiful Montessori free public education within the District of Columbia public school system. This is my 25th year with DC Public Schools, and I can truly say I am proud to see how far we have come, and I want to thank Chancellor Farabee for how you expertly navigated us through the learning at home period and how you were a staunch advocate of the reopening of schools so that our children could come back to this beautiful space on August 30th. And I want to say thank you for that. And at this time, without further ado, I would like to introduce two of our stars here at Capitol Hill Montessori, two of our 8th grade students, Layla Bunch and Phoenix Gray.
Good morning, Mayor Bowser, Chancellor Farabee, Councilor Member Allen, Director Anderson, ANC Commissioner Eckenweiler, and Principal Aduchim. My name is Layla Bunch, and I am an 8th grade student at Capitol Hill Montessori. I began my education here as a primary student, and I've been blessed to see the various changes at the Logan building. I have enjoyed having multi-age classrooms, having the same teachers, and for being with my friends for multiple years, and for the freedom for taking responsibility for my own learning. The new modernized spaces have always made my experiences more wonderful. I have also loved the larger classrooms and the additional learning spaces to work independently or in small groups. The natural light and the outdoor spaces. What I like most is the developer's ability to keep the look of the old building with a modern twist, especially since my grandmother came here 75 years ago.
Thank you, Layla, for that wonderful little piece you wrote. Hello, everyone. My name is Phoenix Gray, and I am also an 8th grader here at CHML. I've attended school since I was in pre-K 4, and I've witnessed the amazing changes of our school building. What I love about this new building is that, like Layla said, it's, the old school building with a modern twist, and not only that, the energy has never changed. I would like to thank Mayor Muriel Bowser for her commitment to making our learning environments beautiful and also for supporting us having access to Montessori education within DC public schools. At this time, it is my honor to introduce Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Let's give Layla and Phoenix a big round of applause. They did a great job representing you guys. Welcome everybody to this beautiful new building at Capitol Hill Montessori. And Principal, where did the principal go? Principal, thank you for all that you've done to lead the team and all the teachers and staff and students and parents during learning at home and welcoming back to a strong reopen. So give Principal Aducham a big round of applause. This, and I know Council Member Allen and all of the members of the council and Board Member Sutter join me in thanking the community, thanking the taxpayers for a more than 10-year commitment to modernizing our D.C. public schools. But as I was walking through the building with the Chancellor, and we got to visit a multi-year classroom with first through third graders, a wonderful teacher learning in an outdoor space in the modernized building. I was just completely struck by how much the investment in our public schools means for our city, that parents and families who have a lot of different interests can find what is best for their child in the DC Public Schools portfolio. And that is a tremendous blessing. So let's give a hand to the taxpayers. You will see we wanted today to focus, and the weather cooperated very nicely, on the outdoor spaces that are available across the system. And the Chancellor will be able to say more. The principal at your school will also be able to say more about the outdoor learning opportunities and outdoor spaces, and how principals and teachers are making decisions about how to welcome kids and families into the building, have lunch, have recess, and enjoy all of the outdoor amenities, certainly with the assistance and support of Chancellor Farabee and the central office staff. We've been back in school, and young people, you can cheer for this. We've been back in school for more than a week now. I couldn't be prouder of how you and all of our team are handling this transition back to school. I've been able to be in several schools now, and the thing that is pretty clear to me is that the children are happy, the teachers are happy, and I'm definitely happy that we are taking another step back into getting to normal. We also know that our teachers and staff really pivoted on a dime. They innovated, they led, they worked with families, they kept their students engaged, and we're just really grateful for the professionalism and expertise that our teaching community has demonstrated throughout this process. We have 400 kids here, the principal tells me. We have room to grow here, just like our renovation at Banneker High School that allowed us to welcome more kids. So too will the renovation of Capitol Hill Montessori. And also like Banneker, this is a citywide opportunity that parents from across the city may look at the Montessori program and say that this is the right learning environment for our child, participate in the lottery, and come to this school as well. We are you can tell I'm excited about the diversity of opportunities in DC public schools. For example, we have 11 dual language schools with programming all the way from preschool to the 12th grade. 7 international baccalaureate schools. In 2015, we opened Ron Brown, a school that serves boys primarily, only, I guess, and Excel. A school in Ward 8 that now we've secured their building for the long term on serving our girls. 50 career and technical education programs across all 17 DCPS high schools, and 13 of our high schools programs specifically use college and career models that will ensure that our kids are ready for college and career. We could also talk about the 4,000 second graders because they're back in person, will learn to ride a bike with their classmates as part of our Cornerstone programs. And the 1,600 third graders who will learn how to swim also because they're back in person. And our high school students who for the first time will take new advanced algebra with financial applications classes. So we are very excited about all the opportunities for our kids in all of our schools. $10 billion since 2007, Charles, and the commitment of our administration and prior administrations, this council and prior councils, to make sure that our schools are world class. And this is just another shining example. So with that, I want to acknowledge your Ward 6 leadership, and because you've been pretty focused on this, right, Charles? And so has the community. So please welcome Charles Allen and Board Member Sutter. If you have remarks, please feel free.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. It's wonderful to have you here and be able a chance to see this beautiful school. Congratulations to you and your team. This is, I think, in the last week, maybe our third ribbon cutting at a newly modernized school in Ward 6. So I'm a little partial to that, but thank you. This is stunning, and this has also been, I think, a bit of a labor of love. And for our students that have been here for a long time, you have seen, obviously, the transformation, and Phoenix and Layla did a phenomenal job of opening us up, so thank you very much. But I remember the days when we had those trailers right out back, right? And that used to be SWS, which is now at Goading, and I remember walking through, and that was going to be like our middle school, right? And so at the time, they only had the little teeny tiny toilets. And I think it was the middle school students who were like, that's not going to work for us. And so we worked hard to fix that. And then I remember we sat in former Principal Eatman's office, and we were talking about the windows and the AC, and we kept trying to work to make a couple of repairs and a couple of fixes here, do the window replacement. But we knew that this school needed the full treatment, the full modernization. And I'm really proud to have worked hard with the school community, the parent community, all of our educators, and then my colleagues on the council with the mayor, and we got this done. And this really is stunning. It is exactly what we know the school could be. It's a little bit different because this is a Montessori school, and it's a little bit different. And I really appreciate the advocacy that came from our parents and educators around that. And I appreciate that the city actually adapted and worked with and brought in folks who have expertise and experience with a Montessori model. So we really helped create this beautiful space that honors that Montessori model for teaching and for education. I'm just really excited about this. You heard about the blending. I was upstairs as the mayor was talking about the students we just met with, and I asked a couple of the students, well, all right, you've been in for a week, so what's your favorite part? And a couple of kids said, well, the gym is just fantastic. I was like, that's wonderful. That's great. As well, okay, come to think of it, the rooftop soccer field, that's really fantastic too. I was like, well, no, you're right. That's great. And well, and the outdoor playground is really phenomenal. And then they just kept tacking on everything, one after another after another. And the thing that they ended on that I think, frankly, we have set a new standard for what I think will probably be the expectation of the next modernizations. The outdoor space in each of the classrooms, more important now than ever. But it really creates an exciting space, whether it is to be able to have class outside, whether you're having lunch outside, whether you're just making it a part of the everyday experience. Having each classroom have its own outdoor space I think you've probably set the bar, and I will likely be hearing from every other school community. That's what they want in their modernization now, but it's a really wonderful feature unique to this space. And I'll end on this, Ms. Mayor. I appreciate you mentioning the second graders and the bicycles. I remember out here we actually did bike camps and things like that out on the big parking lot here. But I have a fourth grader who was in second grade in the spring of 2020. And my daughter is a very literal person. And she was told she gets to learn how to ride a bike in the spring of her second grade. And that didn't quite happen at DCPS because of COVID, but she made sure that I, Dad, was hunched over, running up and down the sidewalk, holding onto the back of the seat. So she did learn, but I'm excited for our second graders. I'm excited for our third graders to come back learning how to swim. These are all great things that are going to happen for our students. So congratulations to everybody. I do want to acknowledge and bring up real fast my Ward 6 Board of Education State Board member, Jessica Sutter, who's been a great partner as we've worked on schools around Ward 6. Jessica, thank you for your partnership and everything you wanted to say, too.
Thank you, Charles, and thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Chancellor, for having me here today. I'll just add two things. One, I am honored to represent 36 public and public charter schools in Ward 6, including 3 DCPS citywide schools, Capitol Hill Montessori at Logan, School Within a School at Goding, and now Banneker High School. And I want to emphasize what the mayor said about the number of choices that families have in this city when choosing public education. So they can choose a school funded by and overseen by institutions in the city, all within the public system. And what a wonderful thing that is for our families and children to be able to choose the setting that works best for them. So thank you for supporting that work. The second thing is getting to chat with the students in the mixed age classroom upstairs was probably my favorite part of the visit this morning, because I learned about volcanoes and a new Cat Warrior book and about the outdoor classroom and about lunch, all in a span of about a 5-minute conversation. And the wonderful thing about this building and Montessori is focused on the curiosity of children themselves and their ability to explore things that bring them love and joy of learning, and to look at this space indoors and outdoors, and the fact that that is available to our children is just tremendous. So thank you for all who've made this happen. Thank you very much for having me today.
Okay, we're going to hear from 2 last speakers. And Chancellor, you made it out of your Super Bowl week of opening, so congratulations. And he is, of course, our leader for DC Public Schools. And thank you, board member, for acknowledging all of our public schools, including our public charter schools. And Keith Anderson is here. Keith Anderson is the director of DGS, which is the construction arm for our public schools. So let's give DGS in advance a big round of applause. I see our contract partners as well. So, Chancellor, if you can start, tell us about how the opening is going and the education experience here that the principal has already alluded to. And, Director, if you tell us the specifics about this great building.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, as I think about today where we are in week 2 and this amazing facility behind me, I think about a quote that I often share with our staff, and that excellence is not achieved by chance or circumstance. It's intentional and it's strategic. And we're here today because there have been strategic investments, advocacy, and thought into the experience of our young people. We think about every facet of our building, but we also have fearless leaders that allow us to have this moment. So thank you, Mayor Bowser, for your leadership and dedication to our facilities, also to Councilmember Allen, the State Board of Education, all the leaders in this city who are very intentional about the spaces in which our children learn in. And this is one of 10 new spaces that we have across our district, and is a part of a 6-year, $1.6 billion plan on the horizon to continue to modernize our school facilities. And you're right. Once we do a building, the families come out, I want some of that, and I want some of this. So we look forward to collaborating with our community members around the spaces that our students will enjoy. But as it relates to where we are now, we're excited that we continue to see more and more of our students back on our campuses. So we had a great first week. Even more students returned back to our campuses on Tuesday after the Labor Day holiday. And what we're starting to see now is that students are really excited and immersed in all the experiences of school. So yes, teaching and learning is happening in the building, but the physical education activities that were noted earlier, the arts that students are experiencing, and just the ability to connect with your peers is something that our young people are raving about. And as a DCPS parent, something I hear daily from my child as well. And so we look forward to continue to deepen this experience. Our teachers are now engaged in our initial assessments to better understand where students are academically. I see Ms. Brown, one of our teachers, a minor, shaking her head. But we want to know where students are academically, socially, and emotionally as well. And this year we've launched a multi-tiered system of supports to help us progress monitor and meet students where they are so we can continue to provide an enriching experience, but also one that's very differentiated to the needs of our students. So again, thank you to all of our educators, our leaders, the team like here today at Capitol Hill Montessori at Logan, that are truly meeting students where they are and providing them with a world-class education that complements a facility like no other. It's my pleasure now to turn to my colleague, who is the Director of Department of General Services, who can share more about this great facility that we have the opportunity to celebrate today. Director Anderson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chancellor Farabee. First and foremost, I just want to say congratulations to the Capitol Hill and Montessori Logan community. This is a beautiful education asset. Congratulations to you. Mayor Bowser, Chancellor Farabee, City Administrator Donahue, Councilmember Allen, thank you for your support in DGS in delivering this education asset for this community. It has been well-deserved, well fought for, and I'm glad we're here today delivering this asset. This project exemplifies an array of achievements, just like our students in the classroom. From the expansion to 99,000 square feet, the use of more outdoor space, to sustainability elements such as the green roof that are part of this structure. Ladies and gentlemen, this building will be going for gold LEED status. With every, that deserves a round of applause. With every school modernization, our work with architects and contractors utilizes new creative innovation that enhances building performance. Capitol Hill Montessori at Logan, you are a shining example of this level of excellence. Design here was intentional, creative, and inspiring. The team did this to ensure that this historic building can be best met for the current and future needs of students for generations to come. To help reduce, and also with the environmental aspects, now there is, in other attributes in the building, there is plenty of outdoor learning space for our students, a new green roof system to help reduce stormwater to prevent more water going into the Anacostia River, a rooftop turf field, which is amazing, by the way, and rain gardens using natural materials. And, as you heard from the mayor earlier, we right-sized the learning spaces inside the existing building's footprint to better incorporate outdoor learning in the Capitol Hill Montessori at Logan learning program. Mayor Bowser, I'm pleased to announce that 41% of the businesses working on this project were certified business enterprises. I want to thank architects Ronnie McGee and Associates, I believe I saw Ronnie in the back, and Studio MB for their hard work to develop this project. And I want to thank MC and Build for realizing and delivering this beautiful education asset for generations to come. We could not have completed this project without the support of the ANC and the Capitol Hill at Montessori community. Thank you for all your support. Lastly, special thanks to Tiffany Moore and Team DGS for your management of this project and construction. Thank you, Tiffany. Welcome to your new school, Capitol Hill Montessori at Logan students. We're excited to deliver this project. Thank you.
Okay, I think we'll take some questions. Any questions? I invite my team to come to the podium.
Thanks. I got a few questions. First about outdoor spaces in this building and city at large. Mm-hmm. One is, did you guys change any of the plans in this building? I mean, I know this was built largely during the pandemic. Did you make any modifications, given that you know we want more outdoor spaces now?
DGS worked very hard with the Capitol Hill Montessori at Logan community to achieve what they wanted in their school asset. So a lot of this was planned from the onset.
Were there any modifications made?
No major modifications.
And I mean, I think that this is the ideal, what I've been hearing from parents that they want during the pandemic to feel safe. We know a lot of schools don't have this sorts of outdoor space, and there's been equipment that hasn't been delivered yet to schools that want to build outdoor space. There's, permitting safety issues from all that I can understand. How do you address the concerns of other parents who in this pandemic, particularly elementary where there's unvaccinated kids, want these outdoor spaces and simply just don't have them?
Well, as we did with the Capitol Hill Montessori and Logan community, we will continue to work with communities across all 8 wards and all school communities to ensure that they have healthy, safe spaces for youngsters. And we will continue that as we move forward with capital modernization projects.
And in the short term for this year, where there are schools that just don't have the space to eat lunch outside or don't have the equipment that's been delivered, how do we address that?
Yeah. Thank you, Perry, for that question. So we have invested over $4 million in outdoor furniture to support learning and other activities on campuses. We did have a supply chain barrier that we did overcome. So we have many of our schools receiving their supplies and materials, which includes outdoor desks, chairs, other materials, and then also access to the internet as well.
So all schools should receive their materials
Yep,
now?
they're coming in. We've already started the delivery process of those materials to school.
So you started it. When will the delivery process be finished?
I anticipate within the next week or two, we should have all of the materials in schools.
Thank you.
Yes, Sam?
Just a question about this school. It's been, I guess, pretty popular in the sense that more people wanted to get into it than there was space. To what degree is this renovation, how does it alleviate that problem where people want to get in?
Let me turn to the chancellor, and maybe the principal can also say a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so as the mayor mentioned earlier, programs that are very high interest and have performed well, we're always thinking about ways in which we can expand them. As the mayor mentioned earlier, we have approximately 400 students on campus, and we have capacity of 500. So we do have the ability to grow the program, and the principal has been working hard to ensure that families are aware of this great option, and we encourage families to continue to participate in the My DC lottery process for our citywide options.
Is there a waiting list?
I don't believe there's a waiting list at this time. Oh, she said it is a waiting list at this time. Do you want to respond?
Thank you, Chancellor. Historically, Capitol Hill Montessori has had a minimum of 2,000 on the wait list for the various grade levels. And so while our capacity will be 500, with Montessori, it's important for a community to remain a community. So we never know. We may open up a Capitol Hill Montessori campus too. You have to think big because the demand is there. Thank you.
What is the school, what's the enrollment? I mean,
There are 400 kids here now.
I noticed there were 8th graders.
Oh, pre-K 3 to 8th.
Okay, pre-K 3.
And so I suspect that you will grow, they will grow with each class.
And what about now? Can people transfer in that you have 400 students, you have a capacity for 5?
So the My Schools DC process is open in late December, early January, and new families are able to apply.
Basically.
Essentially, yes.
Yes. Any other questions, Mark?
Thanks. I had some questions related to DCPS and COVID and testing and whatnot. And I'm just wondering if you can update us on how many students are currently being quarantined, asked to stay at home right now. By my count on the website, I counted 31 letters sent to schools since the opening of school, since August 30th, informing them of positive testing there. So I'm just wondering if you can update us on the test results from the sample testing that you're doing in every school. And just, it also looks, well, it appears from the letters that have been sent home, of the 31 letters that have gone home about positive cases in DC public schools, more than half of those are elementary schools. And so I'm wondering if you can talk about just the risk at elementary schools, particularly the ones that don't have the outdoor opportunities that they have here.
Well, let me start by saying that we we have worked tirelessly for many, many, many months to make sure we're welcoming our kids and staff into safe places. And we feel very strongly that the school experience in many ways is safer than a lot of experiences that boys and girls have from just living every day and from being in the community and from participating in family activities and vacations. So we feel very strongly about the layered safety protocols that we put in place. We also feel very strongly about the experience that we've had so far in bringing kids and teachers back in a hybrid environment beginning in February, where we had thousands of kids that participated in DPR count, thousands of kids that participated in an SYEP program. So we feel strongly that we've had a tested safety layered protocol, and that even more kids are getting vaccinated who are eligible, and many more adults are being vaccinated who haven't been vaccinated yet. So we feel strongly about all that. Having said that, however, we know, just like in the world, that there will be cases of COVID, and that our systems to detect those cases are robust, and our systems to isolate those cases are equally robust. So from my perspective at this point, all of those detection systems and reporting systems are working the way they've been designed. And so Chancellor and Kevin Donahue, the city administrator, of course, with DC Health, with our public charter school partners that are in our independent school partners who are also required to report, are making that information available on a regular basis. So let me turn to the Chancellor and City Administrator Donahue.
So I can speak to our numbers. As of the close of last week, we had approximately 175 students that were in quarantine for various reasons. But it's important to note that an abundance of cautions, sometimes we place students on a close contact list until we do more contact tracing. So the amount of time that the student or staff member need to quarantine could change, or their quarantine status could change as a result of that contact tracing process. We tested as part of our asymptomatic protocol approximately 960 students last week, and we tested this week so far 1,680 students. Thus far, we have 4 positive cases as a result of our asymptomatic testing protocol, so relatively low positivity rate from our asymptomatic protocols.
Can you tell us what it's like for a student who is quarantining for days or weeks? Do they have a virtual option? Are they getting schoolwork sent home to them? What happens to those students, the 175 students who are at home
Right,
today?
so it just depends on how long the student will be quarantined. It also depends on the status of the teacher. In some cases, students are learning synchronously, meaning that the teacher is teaching remotely, or they are learning asynchronously, which means they log on to our platforms, they have access to materials, but they're not engaged with the teacher in live instruction. Again, the magnitude of the quarantine and also the access that we have to a teacher and then the number of students in the classroom would dictate which format that you're learning remotely.
And then I had just another follow-up for maybe it's for Mayor Bowser, but we saw this week that the health department is now mandating vaccinations for licensed healthcare workers, including DC employees at the fire department. Now that the FDA has fully approved Pfizer, do you plan to extend that mandate without the option of testing to, say, DC public school students who are old enough to get the vaccine and or DC public school staff?
I think our focus, should we have changes, Mark, will be on adults. And I thank you for highlighting our health care mandates. That will include our fire service, fire and EMS service, who are medical providers and in very precarious, often situations where they have to go into people's homes. They are in the back of some ambulances, fire, you name it. So we think it's critically important that they are vaccinated, and we will continue to work with our labor partners and our staff on making sure that happens. We are, and Kevin can provide an update on where we are with our mandated vaccination program, which currently, as you note, includes a test out provision. We do not think that is optimal, but we also know that our many of our staff are giving us their status, and we are going to look at our numbers and see where we are. So we don't have any changes to that program to announce. We're still not at the date, which I think is September 19th. So Kevin, why don't you provide a quick update on that?
Thank you. As the mayor mentioned, the energy right now is on education and getting more people vaccinated. We see each week more and more people do get vaccinated. So across all of district government, to give you some context, we know that 67% of people have reported they are vaccinated. Now, 23% we don't know yet. We haven't heard from. So over the next 2 weeks, that 77% of people who've told us their status, of which we know 66% are vaccinated, that's going to go up to 100%, because if you do not report your vaccine status by the end of September, there's going to be disciplinary consequences for you. So as people register their status, we see the numbers going up and up. We've also seen people who are converting from not vaccinated to vaccinated. So we've seen the movement and the effect of education. And there's a number of agencies that we've seen take significant leaps forward in the level of vaccination that they have. So encouragement and partnership with labor has been helping, and we expect to continue to do that until we get to September 19th, at which point people will have to either get an exemption that's required by federal law, religious or medical, or test out each week. But we've seen great progress from education and pushing people to tell us their status.
I'm hearing anecdotally about problems with the PeopleSoft program in actually logging on and updating your status, and that some people who have updated their status and even got the 8 hours or however many it was for getting vaccinated, then got a notice, hey, we see you're not vaccinated. So is there a problem with the PeopleSoft program that's being addressed?
The problem that I'm most aware of is actually you have a lot of work sites where employees show up to a workspace. They don't go to a computer, they get right to work. And so there's a lot of work settings where we have to modify, essentially have someone who collects the vaccine status or works with a laptop computer and makes it much easier for a field-based person to log their status. So there may be individual cases where a PeopleSoft hasn't worked for someone, but the larger challenge that we're working through over the next 2 weeks is getting individuals who don't typically come to work in front of a computer to make it easy to access to tell us their status.
Clarify, the 67% is school staff and not just teaching.
All DC government. So, and I'm sorry, let me just, because it's easy for me to communicate this incorrectly, or just not quite right. We've heard from 78% of all DC government staff. Including teachers, including school staff, including MPD, including DPW. Of that, 85% of the people who have told us their status are vaccinated. That means we know that at least 67% of all DC government workers are vaccinated. I think when we hear from everyone, even if half the people who we not heard from are unvaccinated, I suspect the number of total vaccination rate for DC will probably end up by the time we get to September to be close to 80%. And there are agencies that we've seen really big strides in, even for individuals who have converted from unvaccinated to vaccinated. So we know starting this process, working in partnership with labor, has been helpful because it's allowed us to have credible voices to frontline employees that they trust, that encourage them to also get vaccinated and tell us their status.
And Chancellor Farabee, I mean, in past press conferences, you have said that you expect it to be a pretty rare circumstances, or you don't expect it to be happening where entire classrooms are quarantined. I know from your letter the entire 6th grade class at Johnson is in quarantine, and I have heard anecdotally entire classrooms have been quarantined. So my question is, what happened in these instances? Why is it not what we anticipated? And how are these kids learning right now? How are the sixth graders at Johnson learning?
Yeah, so the students at Johnson Middle School, as I mentioned earlier, in many cases will have a variety of modes of instruction. So they will have some synchronous remote learning from teachers who are available, and then asynchronous when the teachers are not available, and then they're also receiving the technology to learn remotely. But more importantly, what I said earlier, and the mayor reiterated that point today, is that we're following our process. In abundance of caution, when there are scenarios in which someone has been exposed to someone who's tested positive for 15 minutes or more within our protocols, we take the necessary steps to quarantine. Now, that changes. So in some cases, that number has been higher at one point, and then as we do our contact tracing, that number is reduced significantly, and that's still underway. And we have a robust contact tracing team within DCPS and contacts at each school that help us with that process. But depending upon when we get that information, we got to make a call in abundance of safety to ensure that our students and staff are in their appropriate conditions when they return to work and school.
Can you explain what scenario would lead to so many close contacts when everyone is supposed to be wearing a mask?
Yeah, so at the secondary grade level, where we have students who share classes among multiple courses and they're not in a self-contained setting, will lead to scenarios in which where we may have to quarantine a larger group of students. That would likely be the case at our middle schools and high schools, and at some elementary schools where students have multiple teachers. In our elementary grades, most of the classes are self-contained, and you're with one teacher, and that group of students is primarily with one group of students throughout the day.
With vaccination.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Mayor. And as the mayor highlighted, we also know that our students in the middle grades and high school are also eligible to receive the vaccination. And so if a student is vaccinated, staff member is vaccinated, that does change their quarantine status.
And I understand that, but the quarantine rules right now from the CDC are fairly loose, so to speak, in that kids wearing masks should properly fitted, should not have to be quarantined, unless for 15 minutes. In my understanding, they're trying to keep feeding to 15 minutes down. So what is happening that there are entire classrooms being quarantined?
Well, teachers are teaching and students are learning. So that doesn't mean that you're going to be in one place, in one position throughout the day, nor does that mean that will be the case for our students. They will be moving around. There will be activity within the building. And again, abundance of caution, when we believe that there's been more than 15 minutes of contact, we do start our quarantine process and do our contact tracing as well.
I guess my question is, what scenario would there be more than 15 minutes of contact?
May I?
Sure.
First of all, no one said that happened. And so you shouldn't assume things that you don't know, just like I won't assume things that I don't know. And we should also know that it could be a lot of different scenarios, and the chancellor and I and DC Health will have to rely on the professionals in the room to say what happened and what happened, and the contact tracers who will go back and determine exactly what happened. You should also, what I would also take from this in 1 week's of experience is that people also we have to make sure the protocols are being followed correctly. And yes, we're abundantly cautious, but we're not overly cautious outside of our protocols. And so the chancellor will, of course, make sure that all of the teaching professionals and principals know that scenario as well. And then there's always the possibility that something didn't happen according to protocol and a class had to be quarantined. We'll use that as a learning experience as well. And the reason I wanted to emphasize, because we're talking about a middle school, I think sixth graders, so they're probably on the cusp of being able to get vaccinated. But some of them are able to get vaccinated. And the necessity to quarantine vaccinated students goes way down. So for all of our middle school eligible kids, I want to emphasize to their families that getting vaccinated prevents them from having to be quarantined, and the same is true for our high school students. But we've kept you in the sun long enough, so let's cut the ribbon. Thank you.
Okay. All right. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. All right.